we're talking about these characters, and with the Legends series, like I wouldn't say I was a big reader of the novels. I read
No.
a lot, but not a lot. The video games to me had a lot of interesting characters,
Mm.
and of course, there's always like we've just reintroduced Thrawn back into the fold, thank God. But unfortunately for me, they still just haven't hit him where they need to. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, like I say, episode. But for me, there are some characters I believe that should be brought back in. Now, is that original? No, it's not. It's not. It's not.
Mm.
Once again, expanding the mindset. It's going back to original material that's already been done, and people going, oh well, you're going back and you're double dipping. You've said it's not a part of the story, but now it's we've got to bring it back in because the fans like it. But
Yeah.
for me, there are certain characters that I found so intriguing, and
Mm.
probably the one that springs to mind the most, and some people will roll their eyes when I say his name, is Darth Revan. If you've ever played the Knights of the Old Republic game out there, I know there
Yeah.
are a lot of people out there that have. That storyline in that game could have been the film itself, and it probably would have been. I think it's on par with the twist that's in Empire Strikes Back as far as twist goes in a Star Wars story. Now, I don't know. Have you? Do you know anything about Revan?
Oh, just that he looks pretty cool
Oh, okay.
as a
He
6 inch
does.
action
Okay.
figure. But yeah, I never
I
really. You're talking about
the
Knights of the Old
Old
Republic
Republic. Yeah.
game? Yeah, no, I
So
never really played myself.
So
So
the
yeah.
beauty of what it is that there were two Sith Lords. You had Malak and Revan,
Mm.
and of course Malak betrayed Revan, as they all do,
Mm.
and all that sort of stuff. And you had Bastila, who was a Jedi charged with trying to defeat them. And what happened was you start out as a Jedi in this game, or a newbie, and you're
Yep.
learning the Force as you get along, and you're going through this game, and it's a beautiful open world environment game, and the story is very
Yeah.
engrossing because you're learning stuff about yourself, and you're having flashbacks and all this sort of stuff, and people going, "Hang on, don't I know you?" And you're like, "Oh," no." And I was playing the game, and then you get to a point where the two mains meet yourself and Darth Malak, and
Mm.
Malak goes, "I can't believe you're alive," and it's like,
Mm.
"What?" And I'm standing there playing the game. What? You're actually playing as Darth Revan, and the Jedi have wiped your memory, and it's just the absolute mind blow because I'm playing the game and I'm like going, "What? I'm actually the bad guy." You're
Mm.
actually playing, but you have that choice once again in those open world environment games to choose either to go light or dark side. So you're choosing your fate of where you side. Of course, I played light, but Revan as a character though had novels, of course, figures that are everyone loves them,
Mm.
Mandalorian mask and all that sort of stuff. But Darth Revan is such an interesting character and very much heavily based in Sith lore, and what he did. At one point in the second game, he's referred to as he left the galaxy and
Yeah.
he found something else and he just disappeared. Now,
Okay.
it's presumed that he died because he
Yeah.
appears as a spirit in the second game, but you don't know whether that's just more of a hallucination. But it's funny that that's mentioned because Thrawn in this latest novel
Yeah.
that's coming out, this new one that's now canon, talks about an outside force in another galaxy. Now that could be the Vong, which
Oh, I
was
hope
written,
not.
which yeah, well, a lot of people are saying I hope bloody not. But it's interesting that he refers to a power outside the galaxy to the Emperor in that novel.
Mm.
So people are going, are they going to reintroduce the Vong, or is it going to be reintroducing something else? But Revan was similar. Before that, even that transpired, Revan had left the galaxy in search of something else.
Yeah.
And, it intrigues me to A, what happened to that character. Of course, in the books and everything else, he stayed bad. He didn't have that choice
Mm.
of becoming good in the game, though, however. But Revan is a character I would love to see in some way or shape or form. And he nearly was in the Clone Wars cartoon series.
Mm.
In the Mortius arc, I believe, they were going to bring him, Darth Bane, and everything into play. And of course, they brought Darth Bane in, which was interesting in the Lost missions.
Yeah.
So Bane once again became canon, and of course he was responsible for the rule of two.
Mm.
And there's always a master and apprentice and no more, and that's where he believed it should be and stay, purely because of the bloodbath that was ensuing every time the Sith were around. So
Yeah.
they had to minimize, and that was his rule, and it stayed like that you could say, even though they had the Inquisitors and everything like that. But Darth Revan for me is one of those characters that I would love to see a film brought back into canon some way. He's an intriguing character, quite a powerful Jedi, of course, very, very powerful. And I'd love to see what happened to him outside that galaxy when he left, because it's never ever touched on, and which is a touch disappointing. But Revan's a character I would like to see. Of course, there are a few from the other games I liked. I was a big Dash Rendar fan, the Han Solo wannabe in Shadows of the Empire. I liked him as a character. Mara Jade, of course, I loved her as a character from Heir to the Empire, where she came from and her evolution, which was unfortunate. Spoiler alert: she does get killed. By Han's son, Jason, Darth Cassius. Another interesting story, but there are quite a lot of cool characters from the expanded universe that I love, but a lot of them are gaming. I like Kyle Katarn, and because I played Jedi Knight 2 on the computer, and that was the first time I saw video realistic. They had the CG background and had a real life actor playing Kyle Katarn. I'm like, oh, that's Kyle Katarn. He was responsible for the Death Star plans. That was where they originated from. But we know that's not true now. So, but do you have any characters at all from the expanded universe that you'd like to see come back? Or
well, you've rattled off a couple already.
Oh, okay, all right.
No, that's all right. I've had a bit of a funny relationship over the years with those books. Of course, like anybody else, Heir to the Empire came out in May 1991, and I know when it was because I was actually in Hawaii at the time when I ran into it in a bookshop, and it was like a Star Wars book. We were like living in and it was really the book that really fired up my interest again.
Yep.
I was a huge Star Wars fan through the films, the original films, and for a few years after, like anything else, there was the dark times of the late 80s and that where we had nothing. And
droids and Ewoks.
And I've mentioned this before. Yeah, people my age who were like the original sort of fans who were 12, whatever, when the movies first came out, were growing up and experiencing things. And Star Wars just sort of fizzled out. And it wasn't until I was about 23, 24 at the time, and we were on this holiday in Hawaii, and I walked into the bookshop, and there it was, brand. It only come out that day. I had a big standee at the front of this bookshop, and I was like, oh my goodness, a new Star Wars book, and I picked it up and I bought it there and then, and I read it on the way home on the plane, and no one could talk to me for the whole trip. It was just like that 10 hours, whatever it is, just dissolved. I didn't finish it completely on the plane, but I got about 2/3 of the way through it. And it was fantastic. And that book really fired up my Star Wars interest again. And I've got to say, even though he's back and he's not as what we've been hoping for him, Thrawn was really the character that I latched onto in those books straight away. Especially, I just found him so interesting as a character in those books, as a master tactician and just as an art collector and just how he looked at art and could work things out from that and use and transfer that into putting battle plans together and stuff. I thought was just tremendously clever writing. Of course, in that book we've got Coruscant mentioned for the first time, which it became the canon name for the world. But I would have to say, Mara Jade, was an interesting character. Like you had to give Luke a girlfriend at some stage in the end, I suppose. But I was interested.
Why not
in
better
her
someone who wanted to kill him?
Yeah, well, that's it. And I was interested in her arc from the beginning, wanting to know what drove her. As well. Now, as far as a lot of the books, I love those books. I love that trilogy of books.
Yeah.
The original Thrawn trilogy. And then I started reading. Like I think there was the Courtship of Princess Leia and a couple other things that I got into, and of course Shadows of the Empire.
Yes.
When that came out, as you know, that was a
huge.
That was a major media market. It was basically everything for a movie without the movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
And, it was a book, it was a video game, it was toys.
It was a soundtrack.
It was a soundtrack even, exactly. It was a soundtrack even. And I got right into that. I used to read the novel and the comic with the soundtrack playing in the background, and try and imagine it. I was reading a Star Wars film. And George actually came out at the time and said it was canon.
Yeah.
He said that this was episode, 5.5 or whatever it is. It was just a great story. Unlike you, I didn't really warm to Dash Rendar. I thought he was obviously the Han Solo-ish sort of character needed to be there, but because Han was on ice, I had to find someone else. Let's just make exactly the same character almost and give him a droid co-pilot.
That's right.
With a similar looking ship.
Yep.
And still make him be a wisecracking smart aleck. And I was just a little bit with his character. He didn't do too much for me at all. But see, the thing was, I went to convention, the Star Walking Con back in 1993. Which Force 2, I think it was. Force. And they actually had a lady from Lucasfilm Publishing, come and tell us all about it. Now, the novels had already, a couple of the novels had already come out, now the Thrawn trilogy at that stage. And she came out and she listed out all the stuff that they were planning down the track at the time. And it was like there's going to be 15 new books. Right? And I remember her doing the talk, and I remember thinking, wow, awesome. However, I still remember her clearly saying this, however, George Lucas doesn't consider these books as canon, right? They are stories they are playing in George's sandbox. Yeah. If George ever wants to change anything, he's got full rights to go and do it.
Yeah.
These are fun stories that are set in a thing. So I started out with that mentality, right? That these are cool stories, but if George doesn't wants to change something, he can. Right? And since Disney took over, that's exactly what they've done. Okay, now these are legends now with changing the canon, and I personally had no problem with that because I'd been in on that from the beginning. Yeah. Right. George never himself said that this is the story. And I know a lot of my friends thought that George Lucas actually wrote the books. Those stories and that he actually wrote, he actually improved them all. That wasn't the case at all. No. It was fun. It's like all the Star Trek books that came out back in the 80s. I remember hundreds of Star Trek books. Yeah. Right? And they all contradict each other with a lot of the stories and stuff like that. Great. They're great reads. Yeah. Great stories. But as far as continuity is concerned,
out the window.
So and that's the way I took the Star Wars books as well. And I never had him. But as far as other favourite characters, I would say Prince Shizor.
He's very good.
I loved Prince Shizor. I'd love to have seen him realised in some sort of, physical form and besides an action figure and an actual physical character. Yeah. He was like just slimy and he
was the kingpin.
He made Jabba the Hutt look like an altar boy.
He was a kingpin. He was great.
He was the kingpin, and I really, really, really enjoyed his character as well. But so I would say probably Thrawn and Shizor are probably my two top favourites from the Legends line, books, if you will. But I started getting a little bit boring, a bit annoying. I remember I think it was one book where 3PO was taking the kids to the zoo on Coruscant or something like that. And I thought, that's it, I'm out. Many hours wasted. When I was living at home, many hours wasted in the bedroom, lying on the bed, in the books. But now, that's it, I'm done.
That's it.
And that's it, yeah. So, like I said, there's a couple of major characters that stand out for me.
Cool.